They say love is blind, but at 72 I thought I'd seen enough to spot the lies. I was wrong. The heart doesn't get smarter with age. It just gets more desperate for one last chance at happiness. If our stories resonate with you, don't forget to like, comment, and tell us where you're watching from. This story was shared with us by one of our long-time viewers. He asked us not to share his name, but he wanted his experience heard. I never thought I'd be one of those old fools scrolling through dating apps at midnight. But there I was, 3 months after Martha's funeral, staring at my phone like it held the secret to fixing my broken life. The house felt too quiet, too empty, and the loneliness was eating me alive. Martha and I had been married 47 years. 47 years of morning coffee together, of her humming while she folded laundry, of someone to talk to about the neighbor's barking dog or the price of groceries. Now I woke up to silence and went to bed with silence, and the weight of it was crushing me from the inside out. My daughter Lisa lived in California with her own family. My son Mike was deployed overseas, and suddenly I understood why some old men just give up and die after losing their wives. The emptiness wasn't just in the house. It was in my chest, in my bones, in every breath I took. That's when I downloaded the dating app. I told myself I was just looking for friendship, maybe someone to grab coffee with, someone who understood what it meant to lose the person you'd built your whole life around. I'd been scrolling for maybe an hour, looking at profiles of women my age who all seemed to have their lives figured out, traveling the world, spending time with grandchildren, volunteering at animal shelters, when Christina's message popped up. "Hello, handsome American man," she wrote, and there was something about those words, maybe the way she called me handsome when I hadn't felt handsome in years, that made my heart skip. Her profile picture showed a beautiful woman with dark hair and the kind of smile that reached her eyes, holding what looked like a cup of coffee in a small, neat kitchen. She was younger than my daughter, 34 to my 72, but she seemed interested in me, really interested, not just polite like most people were when they talked to old men. "Hi there," I typed back, my fingers shaky on the phone screen. "Thank you for the message, I'm Harry." "Harry is such a strong name," she replied almost instantly. "I am Christina. I live in Manila, Philippines. I work in call center helping American customers, so I know American culture very well. What brings you to dating app, Harry?" I stared at that question for a long time. What brought me here? Loneliness, desperation. The fear that I'd spend whatever years I had left talking to nobody but the checkout girl at the grocery store and the mailman. But I couldn't say that to this beautiful young woman who probably had her pick of men her own age. "I lost my wife recently," I typed, "just looking for someone to talk to." "Oh, Harry, I'm so sorry for your loss," came her reply, followed by a heart emoji. "I can tell you have kind soul. Losing someone you love must be very hard. My papa died when I was teenager, and Mama still cries for him sometimes. Love like that never really goes away, does it?" Something about the way she wrote that, the gentle understanding in her words, made me want to tell her everything. Before I knew it, I was typing paragraph after paragraph about Martha, about our life together, about how lost I felt without her. Christina responded to everything with such warmth, such genuine care, asking questions about Martha's favorite flowers and what she liked to cook, telling me how beautiful it sounded that we'd had such a long, happy marriage. "You were lucky to have such love, Harry," she wrote, "but you are still here, still alive, still deserving of happiness. Maybe God has more plans for your heart." I went to bed that night feeling something I hadn't felt since Martha got sick. Hope. Maybe there was still life left in this old heart after all. For 2 weeks, Christina and I talked every day. She worked at a call center in Manila, she said, helping American customers with their credit card problems and computer issues. That's why her English was so good, why she understood our humor, our way of speaking. She'd been doing it for 8 years, ever since she finished college with a business degree she couldn't afford to use because jobs were scarce in the Philippines. "I help Americans all day with their problems," she told me during one of our late-night chats. "But talking to you is different, Harry. With you, I can be myself, not just customer service voice." She told me about her life in Manila, about the small apartment she shared with her mother, about the traffic and the heat and the way the city never slept. Her mother was sick, she said, diabetes and high blood pressure, and Christina was the only one taking care of her since her father died. It's hard sometimes, she admitted, working all day, then coming home to cook and clean and make sure Mama takes her medicine. But family is everything, you know. This is what we do for people we love. I found myself telling her things I hadn't told anyone, not even my own kids. How scared I'd been when Martha got diagnosed with cancer. How helpless I felt watching her waste away in that hospital bed. How guilty I was that part of me felt relieved when she finally stopped suffering. How my son Mike barely called anymore, too busy with his military career to check on his old man, and how Lisa worried about me but didn't really understand what it was like to wake up every morning with nowhere to go and no one to care whether you got dressed or stayed in bed all day. "You have such a kind heart, Harry," Christina would type, always with those little heart emojis that made me smile despite myself. "I can tell you were a wonderful husband to Martha. She was lucky woman to be loved by someone like you." The way she said it, so simple and certain, made me feel like maybe I wasn't just a broken-down old man after all. Maybe I was still capable of being loved, of loving someone else. When she sent me her first selfie, gorgeous, smiling, holding a handwritten sign that said, "For my sweet Harry," I stared at it for 10 minutes straight. This beautiful young woman was thinking about me, an old electrician from Portland who hadn't looked in a mirror without wincing in years. "You are a very handsome man, Harry," she wrote when I told her I was too old and ugly for someone like her. "Age is just number. What matters is heart, and your heart is beautiful." I started looking forward to her messages more than anything else in my day. More than my morning coffee, more than the evening news, more than the rare phone calls from my kids. Christina became the bright spot in every 24 hours, the reason I got up in the morning, and the last thing I thought about before I fell asleep. When she was working at the call center, I'd count the hours until she'd be free to talk to me. When she sent me pictures of her lunch or her view from her apartment window or just her face smiling at the camera, I'd save every single one to look at later when the house felt too quiet. I knew I was falling for her, falling hard and fast like a teenager, and it scared me as much as it thrilled me. At 72, was I allowed to feel this way about someone? Was it foolish to hope that maybe, somehow, this connection we had could turn into something real? "I wish I could meet you in person, Harry," she wrote one evening after we'd been talking for about 3 weeks. "But plane tickets are so expensive, and I'm saving every peso to help my mama with her treatments. Maybe someday, when I have enough money, I can visit America and we can have coffee together like you and Martha used to do." I'd been thinking the same thing for days. The idea of actually meeting her, of seeing that smile in person, of maybe holding her hand, or taking her to see the Columbia River Gorge, or just walking around downtown Portland together. It made my heart race like I was young again. But I also knew how hard it must be for someone working in a call center to save up for an international plane ticket, especially when she was supporting her sick mother. The smart part of my brain, the part that had gotten me through 40 years of electrical work and raised 2 kids, and managed to save a decent nest egg for retirement, whispered warnings. "You barely know this woman, Harry. She's young enough to be your granddaughter. Why would someone like her be interested in someone like you?" But the lonely part of my brain, the part that had been screaming in the silence for months, was so much louder. She cared about me. She listened to me. She made me feel like I mattered again. "What if I bought your ticket?" I typed before I could stop myself. "I mean, if you really want to visit America, I could help with that. I have some money saved up." The response came so fast I knew she'd been hoping I'd offer. "Oh, Harry, are you serious? That would be like dream come true. But I cannot ask you to spend so much money on me. Plane ticket from Manila to Portland must cost at least $1,500, maybe more." "It's not about the money," I wrote, and I meant it. What good was money sitting in the bank when it could bring me the first real happiness I'd felt in months? "I want to meet you too, Christina, more than anything." "You are angel, Harry," she replied. "But let me think about this. It feels like too much to accept from someone, even someone as wonderful as you. And I need to save more money first anyway for when I am in America. Maybe in few months when I have better savings, we can talk about this again." The fact that she didn't immediately accept, that she wanted to think about it and save her own money too, made me trust her even more. This wasn't some gold digger trying to get a free trip out of a lonely old man. This was a responsible woman who wanted to meet me as much as I wanted to meet her, but who was being practical about the whole thing. That's when the small request started. "Harry, I am so embarrassed to ask this," she wrote a few days later. "My phone broke today at work. I dropped it, and screen is completely shattered. I cannot afford to buy a new one right now because I had to pay for Mama's medicine this week. But I cannot work without phone, and I cannot talk to you without phone. I don't know what to do." The panic in her message was clear. Losing her phone meant losing her job, and losing her job meant no way to take care of her mother, no way to save money for our eventual meeting. "How much does a new phone cost?" I asked. "About $300 for one that will work for my job. But Harry, I am not asking you for money. I just needed to tell someone why I might not be able to message as much for a while." $300. I spent more than that on utilities some months. Martha's life insurance payout was sitting in my savings account. Money I'd never touched because I didn't know what to do with it. Money that felt wrong to spend on myself when it came from her death. But spending it on someone who cared about me, someone who needed it to keep working and keep talking to me, that felt right. "Send me your information," I typed. "I'll wire you the money for the phone." "Harry, no. I cannot accept this." "You're not accepting charity," I wrote. "You're accepting help from someone who cares about you, someone who needs you to have a phone so he can keep talking to you every day." It took another 20 minutes of back and forth, but finally she gave me the information for Western Union. I'd never used it before, had to figure out how to set up an account and navigate the website, but within an hour I'd sent $300 to Cristina Santos in Manila, Philippines. The confirmation screen said it would be available for pickup within minutes. "Harry, I cannot believe you did this," she wrote when I told her the money was on its way. "You are most generous, most caring man I have ever known. I promise I will pay you back as soon as I can with interest." "Don't worry about paying me back," I said. "Just get your phone fixed and keep talking to me." That night, she sent me a picture of her new phone, and she looked so happy, so grateful, that the $300 felt like the best money I'd ever spent. For the first time since Martha died, I felt useful again. I'd solved a problem, helped someone I cared about, made a difference in someone's life. I should have known it was just the beginning. The phone was just the beginning, but I didn't see it that way at the time. I saw it as me being helpful, being the kind of man who could take care of someone he loved. A week after the phone incident, Christina's laptop died. "The hard drive crashed completely," she explained over our video call, and I could see the stress in her face, the way she kept running her hands through her hair. "All my work files, everything gone, and without laptop, I cannot do my job." From home, my supervisor said I have 2 days to fix it or I lose my position. "How much is a new laptop?" I asked, already knowing I was going to send whatever she needed. "At least $500 for one, good enough for my work." "Harry, I feel so terrible asking, but I do not have this money. I spent everything on Mama's doctor visit last week." $500. Still nothing compared to what I had in the bank. Still less than what Martha and I used to spend on a weekend trip to the coast. And the way Christina looked so defeated, so worried about losing her job, made the decision easy. "Send me the Western Union information again," I said. "Harry, I cannot keep taking money from you." "You're not taking it. I'm giving it because I want to help you." This time she cried when she accepted the transfer, actual tears streaming down her face as she thanked me over and over, calling me her guardian angel, her blessing from God. "I do not know what I did to deserve someone like you in my life," she said. "But I promise, Harry, when I visit America, I will spend every day showing you how grateful I am." Then it was her mother's medicine. Diabetes medication had gotten more expensive, $700 that Christina didn't have, and if her mother couldn't get her insulin, she could go into diabetic shock. "I cannot watch my mama die because I do not have money for medicine," Christina sobbed during our video call. "She is all I have in this world, Harry. I would rather die myself than lose her." $700 via Western Union, sent that same day. Each time Christina was so apologetic, so embarrassed to ask, promising to pay me back with interest when she got to America, when we started our life together. The money didn't matter to me. I had Martha's life insurance, our joint savings account, that I'd never touched, my pension that was more than enough to cover my simple lifestyle. What mattered was how grateful Christina was, how she promised that every dollar was bringing us closer to being together. "Soon, my love," she'd write after every transfer, "soon I'll be in your arms and we can start our beautiful life together. You are saving my whole family, Harry. You are my hero." I started planning what our life would look like when she got to Portland. Would she want to sleep in the guest room at first, or would she be comfortable sharing my bed? What would I cook for her first meal in America? I researched Filipino food online, ordered ingredients from the Asian market across town, practiced making adobo and pancit so I could surprise her. I cleaned out Martha's side of the closet, donated her clothes to Goodwill, made space for Christina's things. I even looked into English classes at the community college, thinking maybe she'd want to improve her already excellent English, maybe get that business degree she'd mentioned put to use in America. In my mind, she was already my girlfriend, already my partner, already the person who was going to fill the empty spaces in my life. When neighbors asked how I was doing, I found myself saying things like, "Actually, I've been talking to someone special, or things are looking up for me." I even told my mailman about her, showed him one of her pictures on my phone. "She's a beauty," he said with a smile. "Lucky man." I felt lucky. For the first time in months, I felt like maybe God, or the universe, or whatever power controls these things, had decided I deserved a second chance at happiness. Martha would have wanted me to be happy, I told myself. She wouldn't want me to spend the rest of my life alone and miserable. She would have liked Christina, would have appreciated how caring she was, how hard she worked to take care of her family. The requests kept coming, but they felt natural now, part of our relationship. Her work uniform got damaged and she needed money for new clothes. Her apartment's air conditioning broke and she needed to pay the repairman. Her mother needed physical therapy that insurance wouldn't cover. Each time I sent the money without hesitation, and each time Christina was so grateful, so full of love and appreciation, that it felt like the most natural thing in the world. "I cannot wait to show you how much I appreciate everything you do for me," she'd say during our video calls. And the way she looked at me, the warmth in her voice, made me believe that what we had was real. That love could happen at 72. That I wasn't just a lonely old fool being taken advantage of, but a man worthy of being loved by a beautiful, caring woman. I should have listened to the warning signs, should have paid attention to the little voice in the back of my head that whispered questions I didn't want to answer. But love, or what I thought was love, made me blind to everything except the hope that finally, I wouldn't have to be alone anymore. My daughter Lisa visited for my birthday in October, her first time back to Portland since Martha's funeral. She brought the kids, my grandchildren who barely knew me anymore, and we had cake in the kitchen, where Martha used to make her famous chocolate chip cookies. I was happy to see them, but I was also distracted, checking my phone every few minutes for messages from Christina, excusing myself to take her call during dinner. "Dad, who are you talking to?" Lisa asked when I came back from the third phone call of the evening. "Just a friend," I said, but something in my voice must have given me away because Lisa's expression changed. What kind of friend calls this much during family time? I should have been vague, should have changed the subject, but I was proud of Christina, proud that someone like her cared about me. "Actually, I've been talking to a very special woman," I said. "Someone I met online. Her name is Christina and she lives in the Philippines." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Lisa stared at me, her face going through a range of expressions: confusion, disbelief, worry, and finally something that looked like panic. "Dad, please tell me you're not sending money to someone you met on the internet." The way she said it, like I was some kind of idiot who couldn't take care of himself, made me defensive. "It's not like that, Lisa. Christina is a wonderful woman who works hard to take care of her sick mother. Yes, I've helped her out a few times when she was in a bind, but oh my God." Lisa put her head in her hands. "Dad, how much money have you sent her?" I did some quick math in my head. The phone, the laptop, the medicine, the clothes, the air conditioning, a few other emergencies over the past couple of months. Maybe $4,000 or $5,000 total. It sounded like more when I added it up, but it was still just a tiny fraction of what I had in the bank. "Not much," I said. "Just helping her out here and there." "Dad." Lisa's voice was sharp now, the same tone she'd used when she was a teenager and caught me doing something she disapproved of. "This is a scam. These people prey on lonely older Americans, especially widowers. They create fake profiles, fake stories, fake emergencies, all to get money out of people who are grieving and vulnerable." The words hit me like a slap in the face. Fake profiles, fake stories, people who prey on lonely widowers. Was that what Lisa thought of me? Some pathetic old man who was so desperate for companionship that he'd fall for the first pretty face who paid him attention? "You don't know what you're talking about," I said, my voice rising. "Christina is real. I video call with her. I've seen her apartment, met her mother, heard about her job. This isn't some scam, Lisa. This is a real woman who cares about me." "Dad, please." Lisa reached across the table and took my hand. "I know you miss Mom. I know you're lonely. But these scammers are professional. They know exactly what to say, exactly how to make you feel special and needed. Please, please promise me you'll stop sending money to this woman." I pulled my hand away. How dare she diminish what Christina and I had? How dare she suggest that a woman like Christina couldn't genuinely care about someone like me? "I'm not some senile old fool who can't tell the difference between a scam and a real relationship," I said. "Christina and I have something special, something real, and I'm not going to let your cynicism ruin that." Lisa tried to argue more, showed me articles on her phone about romance scams, statistics about how much money older Americans lose every year to online predators. But I wouldn't listen. I couldn't listen. Because if Lisa was right, if Christina was just some scammer playing a role, then everything I'd felt over the past few months was a lie. The hope, the happiness, the feeling of being needed and wanted and loved, all of it would be fake. That night, after Lisa and the kids went to their hotel, I called Christina crying. I told her about Lisa's accusations, about how my own daughter thought I was being scammed, about how hurt and angry I was that no one believed what we had was real. "Oh, Harry," Christina whispered, and I could hear her crying too. "Your daughter is scared of losing you to another woman. This is very normal for children when their parent starts to date again. She is not a mean person. She just does not understand. That love can happen at any age, between any people." "But she made it sound like you're some kind of criminal," I said, "like you're just pretending to care about me to steal my money." "That hurts my heart so much," Christina said. "Harry, you know me, you know my heart. Would criminals spend hours every day talking to you about your feelings, your memories of Martha, your dreams for future? Would criminal cry with you when you are sad, laugh with you when you share funny stories? Money cannot buy the connection we have." She was right. No one could fake the conversations we'd had, the emotional intimacy we'd built, the way she remembered every detail about my life, and asked follow-up questions days later. No scammer would invest that much time and energy in one mark, would they? "Your daughter is jealous," Christina continued, her voice gentle but certain. "She is only woman in your life for many months, and now she has to share your attention with someone else. This is very common, Harry, but we know what we have is real, don't we? We know that love does not care about age or distance or what other people think." Her certainty became mine. Her conviction that what we had was special, was real, was worth fighting for, gave me the strength to do what I needed to do. When Lisa called the next morning to apologize for being so harsh and to beg me one more time to be careful, I didn't answer. When she called again that afternoon, I sent it to voicemail. When she left messages asking me to please call her back, promising she just wanted to protect me, I deleted them without listening. Christina was right. Lisa was jealous, scared of losing her place as the most important woman in my life. But I was 72 years old, and I deserved to be happy, to be loved, to have someone who cared about me the way Christina did. If my own daughter couldn't support that, couldn't be happy for me, then maybe I was better off without her negativity poisoning the best thing that had happened to me in years. I stopped answering Lisa's calls entirely. Let her stew in her jealousy. And worry. I had more important things to focus on, like planning the future I was going to build with the woman I loved. 3 months into our relationship, Christina's mother had a medical emergency. I was just finishing my morning coffee, looking forward to our usual good morning video call, when my phone rang with a call from an unknown international number. Harry, please, I need your help." Christina's voice was thick with tears, barely coherent through the sobbing. "It's Mama, she collapsed this morning. I'm at hospital now, and they say her blood sugar was so high she almost went into coma." My heart started racing. In the background I could hear hospital sounds, beeping machines, people talking in what I assumed was Tagalog, the general chaos of an emergency room. "What do the doctors say? Is she going to be okay?" "They can save her, but they want $5,000 before they will do the surgery she needs. In Philippines, Harry, you must pay first or they will not treat you. If I cannot get this money today, they will send Mama home and she will die." $5,000. It was more than all the other requests combined, but it wasn't about the money. This was Christina's mother, the woman who'd raised the person I loved, the only family Christina had left in the world. How could I live with myself if I had the power to save her life and chose not to use it? "Send me the hospital information and your Western Union details," I said, already getting dressed to drive to the nearest transfer location. "I'll have the money to you within 2 hours. Harry, I cannot ask you for so much money. I am not asking, I'm offering. This is your mother, Christina. Of course I'm going to help." The crying that followed was unlike anything I'd heard from her before. Deep, gut-wrenching sobs of gratitude and relief. "You are saving her life. Harry, you are literally saving my mama's life. I will never, ever forget this. When I get to America, I will spend every day of my life showing you how grateful I am." I wired the money from a Western Union inside a grocery store, the clerk helping me navigate the process since the amount was larger than anything I'd sent before. $5,000, gone from my account to save the life of a woman I'd never met but who had raised the woman I loved. It felt heroic, felt like the most important thing I'd ever done. 6 hours later, Christina called with an update. "The surgery went perfectly, Harry. Mama is stable now, sleeping, but doctors say she will make full recovery. They want to keep her for a few more days to make sure, but she is safe now, because of you." "I'm so glad she's okay," I said, and I meant it. The relief in Christina's voice made every penny worth it, but it wasn't over. A week later, Christina called in tears again. The doctors wanted to do additional surgery, something about complications from the diabetes. Another $3,000. Then, 2 weeks after that, they needed money for aftercare, for special medication, for a home health aid. 2,000 more. I started dipping into Martha's jewelry fund, the money we'd saved for the retirement cruise we never got to take because she got sick first. $10,000 that was supposed to fund our golden years, now flowing to the Philippines to save the life of my future mother-in-law. But every time I sent money, Christina was so grateful, so loving, so certain that we were building something beautiful together. "I promise I will pay you back with interest when I get to America," she said during one of our late-night calls. "We will build such a beautiful life together, my darling. You are saving my whole family, and when I am your wife, your generosity will come back to you in love and devotion every day. Your wife." She'd said it so naturally, like it was already decided, like our marriage was just a matter of paperwork and timing. The idea filled me with more happiness than I'd felt since Martha was still healthy. Christina would be my wife. Would have someone to grow old with again, someone to share meals with, someone to talk to about the weather and the news and all the small daily things that made life worth living. The numbers in my bank account kept dropping, but every dollar felt like an investment in our future together. I was her hero, her savior, her future husband, and that was worth more than money sitting unused in some account. By month 4, we were planning our wedding. Christina sent me pictures of dresses from Filipino bridal shops, asking which ones I liked best, what colors I preferred for the flowers, whether I wanted a big celebration or something small and intimate. She wanted to get married in the Philippines first, she said, so her mother could attend, and then have a second ceremony in America for my family and friends. "I dream about walking down the aisle to you, Harry," she said during one of our video calls, her eyes bright with excitement. "I dream about saying vows, about promising to love you for the rest of my life. You have already shown me what true love looks like, the way you care for me and my family. I want to give you that same love every day." We talked about her moving into Martha's old craft room, at least at first, until she felt comfortable sharing my bedroom. I cleaned it out completely, bought new curtains and a fresh coat of paint, set up a small desk where she could work if she wanted to keep doing customer service remotely. We discussed how she'd learned to cook my favorite meals: pot roast and mashed potatoes, Martha's famous chili, maybe some American breakfast foods she'd never tried. I ordered Filipino cookbooks online so I could learn to make her favorite dishes too. "I want to take you to see the real Philippines," she said, her voice dreamy with planning. "Not the tourist places, but the beautiful parts where my family lives. The beaches where I played as little girl, the mountains where Papa used to take us hiking. I want to show you my whole world, Harry, and then make America our new home together." The future felt so real, so close I could almost touch it, but first she needed to get her visa paperwork done. "The lawyer wants $1,500 to start the process," she explained during one of our calls. "I have been saving, but with Mama's medical expenses, I do not have enough yet. I am so sorry to ask again, Harry, but I am desperate to be with you. Every day we are apart feels like forever. $1,500 to start the process of bringing my future wife to America." It was nothing compared to what I'd already invested in our relationship. Nothing compared to the happiness waiting for us on the other side of the bureaucracy. "Send me the information," I said. "I'll wire it today." She was so close now, so close to being mine, to filling the empty spaces in my house and my life and my heart. We talked about the timeline, 6 to 8 weeks for the paperwork, then a few weeks more for the interview process, then finally, she'd be on a plane to Portland. By Christmas, if everything went smoothly, I'd have someone to celebrate with again, someone to buy presents for, someone to cook Christmas dinner with, someone to watch old movies with while it rained outside. The loneliness that had nearly destroyed me was almost over. Christina was coming and everything was going to be okay. "Harry, I have amazing news." Christina's message arrived at 6 in the morning, waking me from the first good night's sleep I'd had in weeks. "The embassy approved my visa application. Can you believe it? We are so close now, my love. So close to being together forever." I sat up in bed, my heart racing with excitement. After months of waiting, of planning, of dreaming about this moment, it was finally happening. Christina was approved to come to America. My beautiful, caring, devoted Christina was going to be here in Portland with me, probably within a few weeks. "That's incredible news," I typed back, my fingers shaking with excitement. "When can you book your flight? When will you be here?" "That is the only problem," she replied, and I could feel my heart sink a little. Of course there was a problem. There was always something with visa applications, with bureaucracy, with the endless complications of international travel. They approved the visa, but they need proof that I have enough money to support myself in America while we get married and I apply for permanent residency. They want to see $8,000 in my bank account as evidence that I will not be burden on American government. $8,000. It was more than all the other requests combined, more than I'd ever sent at once. But if it was the last step between Christina and our life together, it was worth every penny. "How quickly do you need it?" I asked. "The appointment is next week." "Harry, if I do not have the money in my account by then, they will cancel the visa. But baby, I promise you, this is just for show. The money just has to be there for the appointment, for them to see on my bank statement. As soon as I get to America, as soon as we are together, I will give it all back to you. This is not like the other times when I really needed money. This is just, how do you say, formality." I understood completely. Bureaucrats and their ridiculous requirements, making people jump through hoops to prove things that had nothing to do with the real situation. Of course, Christina wouldn't be a burden on the American government. She'd be living with me, married to me, supported by my pension and savings. But the system didn't care about common sense. The system wanted to see numbers on a bank statement. 8,000 was almost everything I had left in my easily accessible accounts. I'd have to transfer money from my retirement fund, maybe cash in one of the CDs Martha and I had set up years ago. But the thought of Christina being here, of holding her, of not being alone anymore, of proving to Lisa and everyone else that real love was still possible at my age, it was worth any amount of money. "Send me your banking information," I typed. "I'll transfer it today." "Harry, are you sure? This is so much money, and I know you have already helped me and my family so much. I feel terrible asking for more." "You're not asking for more," I said. "You're asking for the last thing standing between us and our future together. This is our wedding fund, Christina. This is the money that's going to bring you home to me." The word home felt so right when I said it. That's what she would be coming to. Not just my house, but her home. Our home. "You are most incredible man I have ever known," she wrote back. "I cannot wait to show you in person how much I love you, how grateful I am, how lucky I feel to have found someone like you. 2 weeks, Harry. In 2 weeks, I will be in your arms, and we can start our beautiful life together." I walked to the bank that afternoon, my hands shaking as I filled out the international wire transfer forms. $8,000. The clerk, a young woman who looked about Lisa's age, double-checked the amount and the destination. "Sir, this is a significant amount to send internationally," she said, her voice gentle but concerned. "Are you sure about this transfer? We've been seeing a lot of romance scams lately, and—" "It's not a scam," I interrupted, more sharply than I intended. "This is for my fiancée. She needs the money for visa purposes." The clerk nodded politely, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. Just like Lisa, just like everyone who couldn't understand that sometimes, against all odds, love actually wins. That sometimes the fairy tale is real. I signed the forms, authorized the transfer, and walked out of the bank feeling lighter than I had in months. It was done. The last obstacle between Christina and me was gone. In 2 weeks, I'd be picking her up at Portland International Airport, holding her in my arms, starting the next chapter of my life. For 3 days after I sent the money, Christina was quieter than usual. Her good morning texts, which had been as regular as clockwork for months, didn't come at their usual time. When they did arrive, they were shorter, less affectionate. "Good. Morning, Harry, having busy day at work. Talk tonight, maybe." Maybe we talked every night. It was the best part of my day, the highlight of every 24 hours. What did she mean, maybe? "Is everything okay?" I asked, during what should have been our regular evening video call. "You seem distant." "Just stressed about travel preparations. My love," she said. But something in her voice felt different, cooler. The warmth that I'd grown to depend on seemed muted somehow. "So many things to arrange before I leave Manila. Packing, saying goodbye to friends, making sure Mama will be okay without me." It made sense, I told myself. Of course she was stressed. Moving to a new country, leaving her mother, starting a completely new life. That would be overwhelming for anyone. I was probably just being paranoid, reading too much into a few short text messages. But by day 4, the nagging feeling in my stomach had grown into something closer to panic. Her messages were coming later and later, and when they did come, they were generic, almost businesslike. "Hope you are having good day, very busy here, will call soon." When I tried to call her, it went straight to voicemail. When I sent multiple messages asking if she was okay, if something was wrong, if she needed anything, the responses took hours to come and revealed nothing. "Having problems with internet connection, Harry. Sorry for delay. Everything fine." But everything wasn't fine. I could feel it in my bones. The same instinct that had kept me safe during 40 years of electrical work, the same sixth sense that told you when something was wrong with a circuit even before you could see the problem. On day 5, I tried to send her a message and got an error. Message could not be delivered. I tried calling. The number was disconnected. I tried the dating app where we'd first met. Her profile was gone. I sat in Martha's old chair, staring at my phone, reading through months of conversation history that now felt like evidence in a crime I was too stupid to see happening. All those declarations of love, all those promises about our future together, all those grateful messages after I'd sent money. Were they all lies? I created a new profile on the dating app, spent hours scrolling through hundreds of photos, trying to find her again. Nothing. It was like Christina Santos had vanished. From the internet entirely, taking $8,000 and 4 months of my heart with her. The silence in my house wasn't peaceful anymore. It was haunting, filled with the ghost of conversations that might have been fake, plans that would never happen, a future that had been stolen from me along with my money. I couldn't sleep that night, or the night after, or the night after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice saying, "I love you, Harry," and wondered if she'd ever meant it, even for a second. By the end of the first week of silence, I knew I had to face the truth I'd been avoiding. But knowing it and accepting it were two different things, and I wasn't ready to accept that everything I'd felt, everything I'd believed, everything I'd hoped for, had been a lie. I spent 2 weeks trying to find her, created fake profiles on different dating sites, reverse-searched every photo she'd ever sent me, even hired a private investigator in the Philippines who cost me another $1,000 but promised to track down the real Christina Santos. The photos led nowhere. Stock photos from modeling websites, pictures stolen from social media accounts belonging to women who had no idea their faces were being used to break hearts and empty bank accounts across the world. The call center she claimed to work for had no record of any employee named Christina Santos. The address she'd given me for her apartment building didn't exist. "I'm sorry to tell you this, Mr. Mitchell," the private investigator said during our final phone call, his voice crackling over the international connection. "But you've been talking to a professional scammer, probably part of a larger operation. Could be one person using multiple identities, could be a team of people sharing the same fake profile. Based on the sophistication of the operation, the consistent story, the gradual escalation of requests, the emotional manipulation, I'd guess you weren't their only victim. Professional scammer, emotional manipulation, multiple identities." The words hit me like physical blows, each one driving home the reality I'd been trying to avoid. "Was any of it real?" I asked, hating how pathetic my voice sounded. "The conversations, the connection we had, any of it?" The investigator was quiet for a moment. "They're very good at what they do, Mr. Mitchell. They study your social media, learn your weaknesses, craft the perfect fantasy to keep you engaged. They know exactly what lonely people want to hear, exactly how to make you feel special and needed. The person you were talking to has probably had the same conversation with dozens of men just like you. Just like me. Lonely, vulnerable, desperate, enough to believe that someone like Christina could love someone like me. The money is gone," he continued, "moved through multiple accounts, probably multiple countries, converted to different currencies, impossible to trace. I've seen cases like this before, and I've never seen anyone get their money back. $28,500. I did the math after I hung up with the investigator, going through my bank statements with a sick feeling in my stomach, adding up every Western Union transfer, every wire, every time I'd sent money to save Christina or her mother or their fictional emergencies, everything Martha and I had saved for emergencies, everything I'd planned to leave to my grandchildren, everything that was supposed to make my final years comfortable and secure, gone to a person who saw me as nothing more than a lonely old fool with a credit card and access to wire transfer services. Martha's face smiled at me from our wedding photo on the mantel, and I felt like I'd betrayed her memory for a ghost, a phantom, a professional liar who had studied me like a bug under a microscope and figured out exactly which buttons to push to make me open my wallet. The shame was worse than the financial loss. How could I have been so stupid? How could I have ignored every red flag, dismissed every warning, convinced myself that a beautiful 34-year-old woman would fall in love with a broken-down old electrician from Portland? What kind of desperate, pathetic man was I that I'd believe such an obvious fantasy? I had to call Lisa, had to admit she'd been right about everything, that her cynical old father had been too lonely and too foolish to see the truth that was right in front of him. The phone felt like it weighed 100 pounds as I dialed her number. "Dad?" she answered on the second ring, and I could hear the worry in her voice. "I've been trying to call you for weeks. Where have you been?" I need to tell you something," I said, the words coming out thick and choked. "About Christina, about the money." The silence on the other end of the line lasted forever. "How much, Dad?" $28,500. I heard her sharp intake of breath, then quiet crying. "Oh, Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." "You tried to warn me," I said. "You tried to tell me it was a scam and I wouldn't listen. I was so angry at you for not believing in what I thought we had." "I wasn't trying to hurt you," Lisa whispered. "I just didn't want to see you get taken advantage of, but I should have done more. Should have insisted." "This isn't your fault," I said, though part of me wondered if she could have saved me from myself, if she'd been more persistent, more forceful. "This is on me. I wanted to believe it so badly that I ignored everything that should have told me it wasn't real." Lisa drove up from California that weekend. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Martha used to pay bills, and where I'd planned my future with a woman who never existed, going through bank statements and calculating the damage. "We'll figure this out, Dad," Lisa promised, but I could see the worry in her eyes, the way she was doing math in her head, trying to figure out how I was going to make it on what was left. "Maybe you can get a reverse mortgage on the house. Maybe there are programs for seniors who've been scammed. At 72, you don't just bounce back from losing your life savings," I said. "This is it for me, Lisa. This is what I have to live on for whatever years I have left." She stayed for 3 days, helping me report the crime to the FBI, though we both knew it was pointless. The agent who took my report was kind but blunt about the reality. "These romance scams are increasing every year, especially targeting older Americans who've recently lost spouses," she explained. "The perpetrators are usually overseas, often in countries with limited cooperation with U.S. law enforcement. The money is almost certainly gone, moved through multiple accounts, possibly multiple countries." She handed me a pamphlet about support groups for scam victims, resources for financial recovery. Warning signs I should have recognized, all of it too late to help me, but maybe useful for the next lonely widower who thought he'd found love online. "I know this feels personal," the agent said as I was leaving, "but please remember that this wasn't about you specifically. You were targeted because you fit a profile. Older, recently widowed, active on social media. The person who did this has probably run the same scam on dozens of people. You weren't chosen because you're gullible or weak. You were chosen because you're human." But being human felt like a weakness now. Being capable of hope, of love, of trust, those things that made life worth living had been weaponized against me by someone who understood exactly how desperate I was to not be alone. I started attending the support group the FBI agent had recommended. Every Tuesday evening, 15 or 20 people sitting in a circle of folding chairs in the basement of a community center, sharing stories that all sounded eerily similar to mine. The details were different. Some had lost money to fake military officers, others to widows claiming to need help with inheritance problems, still others to supposed business partners with incredible investment opportunities. But the underlying story was always the same. Lonely people targeted by professionals who made a living off human vulnerability. "The important thing to remember," said Janet, the group facilitator who'd been running these meetings for 5 years, "is that this wasn't about love. What happened to you wasn't a relationship that went wrong. It was a business transaction, designed to look like love. A business transaction. That's all those months of conversations had been, all those hours of video calls and promises of a future together. I'd been paying for a service. The service of feeling loved, of feeling needed, of feeling like my life had meaning again. And when I ran out of money, the service was discontinued." "But it felt real," said George, a retired teacher whose story was almost identical to mine, except that his scammer had claimed to be a nurse from Ghana instead of a call center worker from the Philippines. The way she talked to me, the way she remembered things about my life, the way she cried when I told her about my wife's death. How can someone fake all that? "They're professionals," Janet explained patiently. She'd probably had this conversation 100 times with people just like us. "They're trained to create emotional connections, to mirror your feelings back to you, to make you feel understood and valued. It's not magic, it's psychology. And the more sophisticated operations have multiple people playing the same character, sharing notes, making sure the story stays consistent." Multiple people. I thought about all those video calls with Christina, all those times I'd been so convinced I was looking into the eyes of someone who loved me. Had it been the same person every time? Had there been a script she was reading from, a playbook that told her exactly what to say to keep me sending money? The group helped in a way. It helped to know I wasn't the only one, wasn't uniquely stupid or naive. But it didn't help with the practical reality of my situation. I was 72 years old with almost no savings left, no way to recoup what I'd lost, and no real plan for how to survive whatever years I had remaining. 6 months later, I'm still here in Portland, still alone but different now. Harder maybe, more suspicious. The house doesn't feel as empty as it used to, but that might just be because I've accepted the silence. I've learned to live with the quiet that used to drive me crazy. Learned to find meaning in small things that don't require trust or hope or faith in other people. I volunteer at the senior center now, running a weekly workshop on internet safety and romance scams. The irony isn't lost on me. The man who fell for the oldest trick in the book teaching other seniors how to avoid falling for the same trick. Some of them listen, take notes, ask good questions about red flags and warning signs. Others, I can see in their eyes, think they're smarter than I was, think their situation is different, think the person they're talking to online really does love them. But my Dorothy is different, said Frank last week, showing me pictures on his phone of a woman who looked like a model and claimed to be a widowed nurse from Romania. She's not asking for money, she just wants to meet me. They don't all ask for money right away, I told him, remembering how long Christina had waited before the first request, how she'd built my trust with weeks of conversation before she ever mentioned needing help. Sometimes they take months to establish the relationship first. Frank got that same stubborn look I probably had when Lisa was trying to warn me. I appreciate your concern, he said, but I know what I'm doing. I gave him my phone number and told him to call me if Dorothy ever needed money for any reason. Visa problems, medical emergencies, family crises, anything at all. I haven't heard from him yet, but I probably will eventually. They always call eventually. I've had to take a part-time job at Home Depot to make ends meet. At 72, I'm back to working retail, helping young couples pick out fixtures for the homes they're building together. It's honest work and it keeps me busy, but every paycheck reminds me of what I lost chasing a lie. The kids I help are always so optimistic, so sure that love will last forever, that their plans will work out exactly as they imagine. I want to warn them that life is unpredictable, that the people you trust can disappear without warning, that happiness is fragile and temporary, but I don't. Let them have their hope while they can. Let them believe in forever while forever still seems possible. Some evenings, when the loneliness gets particularly heavy, I still think about Christina, not the real person behind the scam. I'll never know who that was, but the character she played, the woman I thought I loved. I wonder if any part of our conversations was real, if whoever was typing those messages ever felt even a flicker of genuine connection, or if it was all just work to them, another day at the emotional manipulation factory. I think about the future we planned together, the wedding that would never happen, the life we were going to build in the house Martha and I shared for so many years. In some parallel universe, maybe there really is a Christina Santos who fell in love with a lonely widower from Portland. Maybe in that universe, she really did come to America and we really did grow old together, taking care of each other the way Martha and I used to. But in this universe, I'm alone, still breathing, still capable of helping other people avoid the mistakes I made, still able to fix a leaky faucet or rewire an outlet for a neighbor who needs help, still capable of being a grandfather to kids who love me even though their grandpa was foolish enough to fall for a pretty face and empty promises. The loneliness hasn't gone away, but I've learned to carry it differently now. It's not the crushing, desperate loneliness that made me vulnerable to Christina's scam. It's quieter now, more manageable, like a chronic pain you learn to live with because you don't have any other choice. If I could go back and talk to the man I was 8 months ago, desperate and lonely and scrolling through dating profiles at midnight, I'd tell him this. Grief makes us vulnerable in ways we don't understand. When Martha died, I didn't just lose my wife. I lost my identity as half of something whole. I lost my sense of purpose, my daily routine, my reason for getting up in the morning. That kind of emptiness creates a hunger that's easy for predators to exploit. Christina didn't scam me out of money, not really. She scammed me out of hope, And that's the cruelest theft of all. The $28,000 is gone forever, along with my trust in online love and my belief that I could start over at this age. But I'm still here, still breathing, still capable of warning others, of helping my neighbors fix their electrical problems, of being a grandfather to kids who love me despite my mistakes. The hardest part isn't the money. It's accepting that the happiness I felt during those 4 months was built on a lie, that the connection I thought was so real was just a professional performance designed to extract money from a lonely old man. It's knowing that someone studied my vulnerabilities like a scientist studying a lab rat, learned exactly what words would make me open my wallet, and played me like a violin for months without ever feeling a moment of genuine human connection. But maybe that's the real lesson here. Real love doesn't ask for wire transfers. Real love doesn't disappear when the money runs out. Real love doesn't target your weaknesses and exploit your grief for profit. At 72, the only person you can really count on to save you is yourself. I'm still alone, but I'm not desperate anymore. I'm not scrolling through dating apps at midnight, looking for someone to fix the empty spaces in my life. I've learned that those empty spaces aren't flaws to be repaired. They're part of the landscape now, part of what it means to be a widower in his 70s, part of the price you pay for having loved someone deeply enough to miss them when they're gone. Some lessons cost everything you have to teach you what you should have known all along. This was mine, and if sharing it helps even one person recognize the red flags I ignored, if it saves even one lonely senior from losing their life savings to a professional liar, then maybe losing everything wasn't completely meaningless. Maybe that's enough. Maybe being able to warn others, to be useful in my own small way, to help people avoid the trap I walked into with my eyes wide open, maybe that's what the rest of my life is supposed to be about. Not finding love again, not starting over, not trying to recapture something that belonged to a younger version of myself, just being here, being honest about my mistakes, being a voice that says, be careful out there. Not everyone who claims to love you actually does. And at our age, that's a lesson we can't afford to learn the hard way.